Okay.
83.
I don't know where that one came from.
Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. All members of the council are present with the exception of Councilmember Bloom, who is, actually take that back, Councilmember Bloom is online, as is Councilmember Pack. We're also joined by Mr. Anderson with our council office staff. We're joined by Mayor Burton, various members of his staff, various members of the public, and quite a few with the fire department this evening. First item of business, however, is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led in by Mr. Rob Bennett. If Mr. Bennett, if you could come to the podium.
Will the audience please rise? Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Rob. All right, tonight's meeting, we've got quite a few public hearings. We have citizen comments, of course, and then we have a couple special recognitions. If there's no objection from the City Council, I want to switch the order of recognitions real quick and turn the time over to Mr. Anderson for recognition of Council Member Worthen. Just to give a little more explanation, we'll do the recognition at the start. And then council, if you would hold your comments till the end, we will have time at the end during council remarks if you'd like to comment then. Council Member Worthen, we have special time at the end of the meeting as well. But we'll start with the recognition piece from Mr. Anderson now.
Thank you, Council Chair. Council, it's an honor to be here, and I don't get to do this very often, about every other year, where I can, it's not very often. When a council member leaves the City Council, and it's a great honor to be here. We've got some tokens of appreciation for the work that Councilmember Worthen has done on October 31st will be her last day of service on the City Council. And we have a couple tokens of appreciation that you can hang up in your new home. So the first one is a Worthen Way. And then it just thanks you for your service. So the time that she's been on the City Council. So we have that. We also have a plaque that you can also hang up in your new home. That's signed by many employees of the city. And I made sure that we've got fire and police, public works, public utilities, administration, council staff. There's still more signatures. I've got a little bit of white space, so we'll get some more signatures before we let you take it home tonight. But it has been a pleasure to get to know you these nearly 4 years that you've served on the council. And Mayor, if I may just speak on behalf of all the city employees, we appreciate your service to the city of West Jordan and to the 116,000 residents that call the city home. And you will be missed. And we wish you all the very best on your endeavors in your new location closer to family and in your new beautiful home with a couple West Jordan reminders to keep your heart where your home really is. Thank you.
So we're not letting her off the hook that easy. So that's why we're waiting till the end for comments from other council members for her to have a few moments. We still have to get through the business of the evening. So with that, we're very excited to have somebody from the fire department here. And Chief, we would welcome you to the podium.
Thank you, Council. And if I may briefly, I just want to also personally thank Councilmember Worthen for all the support and the friendship and everything that she's given to the fire department over the past few years. We really appreciate it. We have a number of batch meetings tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to to recognize our people and honor them in the fire department. We have some promotions, and we also have some new members who will be receiving a badge. Based on the numbers in our room, I think what I would like to do, if I may, Chair, is we'll do the promotions first and have them come up and pin, and they can move out of the way. Then we'll have the new firefighters come up, and then we can all get back together for pictures if that would work.
Absolutely. The one thing I want to highlight, though, this is a public meeting. It's for the residents of West Jordan, those who serve the residents of West Jordan. So if you want to get good pictures, please come in the middle, wherever you'd like to be. This is your moment, your recognition. Please don't feel like you have to take pictures from your chair. That just doesn't work very well. So please make yourself at home. Thank you,
All right.
Chief.
With that, if the following individuals would come up, and also if the person that they've chosen to pin their badge would come up with them. Jesse McKenna has just recently been promoted to captain. And he will be pinned by his daughter Madison. Danny Gates was recently promoted to captain. He will be pinned by his wife Julia. Josh Kopinski was recently promoted to captain, and he will be pinned by his wife, Ashley, I believe. And Jason Mon was promoted to engineer, and he will be pinned by his son, Bo.
Real quick, council, if we could move to the sides so that they can get better pictures.
Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and let you pin the badge on your loved one.
Stay straight in. What's the point of that? That's a funny joke.
Do you want to do pictures now? Yeah. Hey, if you guys are just tight right there, council's going to slide in behind you. We'll get some pictures.
Step forward a foot or two,
Let's
and then
have that
council
squishy.
and mayor, if you would.
Well, she's stepping out.
Yeah. If you guys can step forward, Josh, just, there we go.
Yep. You need to be back.
Yeah.
Anybody know what the fire code is? Go on, 'cause it's. I don't see fire marshal. Okay. For one of
All right, we're good. Thank you. Next, we have some new firefighters who will be receiving their badges tonight. I do want to make note that we're expressing a lot of faith in these firefighters because they are not quite done with the academy. They've still got 1 or 2 weeks left, but we thought due to the scheduling, we'd pin them a badge now. So no pressure, guys. You've got to finish, but we know they will. The first one is Gavin Tate, and he will be pinned by his mother, Carly. Gavin Drury, who will be pinned by his brother, Peyton. Joshua Milliby, who will be pinned by his wife, Michaela. And Ben Hershey, who will be pinned by his wife, Mackenzie. Okay, go ahead.
Some of this
That's a picture.
Get the selfie. All right, we'd like to invite the council in for pictures. If you guys will just step forward.
We should get it.
All right, thank you. And then with that, we have one recognition that I'd like to do really quickly. If Ryan Otley could come forward. Ryan Otley's been serving as our union president for the last few years. Ryan just completed his supervising fire officer designation, which is a credentialing process. I'll just read briefly. It says the Utah Fire Officer Professional Development System is based on the International Association of Fire Chiefs Officer Development Handbook with some additional Utah requirements. The fire officer designation reflects a level of knowledge and a comprehensive skill set that exceeds NFPA standards. And in order to get that, Ryan had to submit the portfolio of all of his training, certifications, education, and experience, and have it go before a review board to receive that credential. So we just want to recognize him. Tell him great job. That's all we have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. As a council, we want to say thank you to all of those who have given so much time, so much of their career to serving the residents of West Jordan, and a very warm welcome to those of you who are just joining. We want to especially say thank you to the family and friends who support them. We recognize that this isn't something that you do on your own. We recognize that service in our city can be very demanding, and you're taken away all too frequently from important events and different activities with your family and those who are here today and those who couldn't be here. While we're always mindful and appreciative of those who we see in the shiny red trucks, those of us who have been here closer to you understand the sacrifice from your families. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Worthen wanted to make a comment, it seems, please.
I think this is my last shot. I'm going to do it. I want you to know, especially the new guys that have come around, you make a difference in people's lives. My father passed away in 2014, and firefighters saved his life. So I was able to give him a proper goodbye, and I'll never forget that. And you might not realize the mark you will make on people, and you'll have rough days where you're like, is this even worth it? Try to remember there are people out there that you have made a tremendous difference in their lives, and they will always remember you and your face and the difference you made in their lives. So thank you very much for everything.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us so that we can recognize the promotions and those who are joining our family, our department. We recognize that you may have other things to do this evening. While you are completely welcome to stay with us throughout the rest of the night. Councilmember Green, did you want to make a motion for a 5-minute recess?
I'm going to move for a 5-minute recess before public comments to allow the firefighters and their families probably to go upstairs and get some well-deserved snacks for at least the little kids. So,
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Whitelock. All in favor? Aye. We'll take a 5-minute recess. All right, I'm going to call back to order city council meeting. We will now move on to public comment. This is the time where city council listens to what residents have to say. There's a couple ways to get a hold of us, but it's always nice to hear from folks in person or on Zoom. If you're in the Zoom and would like to speak tonight, please hit the icon to raise your hand. I see we've got one person who's already done so. At the bottom of the screen, you should see a raise hand icon. Please click on that to let us know that you'd like to speak. I don't see anybody who's dialed in by phone only. We'll start with the folks here in the room, though, before we come back to those who are online. As you speak, we'll ask that you share your name. Let us know if you're a resident of West Jordan, or if not, what's your connection to the city, and then you can have up to 3 minutes. Typically, we don't engage in any back and forth. This is our time to listen to you. If there are specific questions that you have, we may connect you with certain members of staff to help answer those questions. But for the most part, we're here to listen while you comment. We ask that you help us maintain the decorum of the meeting and the professionalism that we have here. And with that, who would like to address the council tonight? Please come to the podium. It looks like the microphone. Oh, there we go. Mic's now on. Please share your name if you're a resident, and then we'll start the timer.
Okay, is it on? Okay. My name is Cindy Leach, and I am a resident of West Jordan, and I am here on behalf of the neighbors and the residents of 8230 South, where our street has been severely compromised by the issue of 1300 West being closed down, and everybody and their GPSs has used our street as a cut through to get to the businesses on 1300 West. And people are flat ignoring 3 signs and nothing is being done. I do want to thank the mayor. He has helped us a lot, and the traffic has been limited as what it used to be. But we, as the residents of 8230, would like something done for our street and to get that traffic. We have full-size dump trucks breaking our branches on our trees. We have full-size diesels coming down our road. We have flatbed trucks coming down our road. And there's just so many trucks going to the asphalt company that do not belong on our road. It is not a city road. It is our neighborhood road. 82 is the city road, but 8230 is not. And I'd just like to address that. And my neighbor here would like to add to that what we would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Hi, council. We appreciate you hearing our comments.
Could you share your name?
Sure. My name is Ellen Hills. I just live a couple doors down from Cindy. I would just like to also thank the mayor and the city engineers who have helped us with this as best they could so far. Is what we're hoping. I spoke with the project manager for Dominion Energy, who's overseeing that project for Dominion Energy. He said that they were not going to be able to finish in November like they had hoped. It would probably be March. So his name is Jared, Minnesota, if you want to talk to him. He said that they will be opening part of 13th West going south. It will open right where Fox Point Drive ends, so there will be north and south traffic by the end of November. But from Fox Point Drive north, it will not be open for southbound traffic until at least March. So we're looking at still a great deal of time. And as Cindy mentioned, when those dump trucks come and the haul trailers that are going to Asphalt Materials Company, they rattle our whole house and dump trucks come down, and it is really, really awful. And so that's one thing that we're having to deal with. The other thing I'd like to address is the fact that next summer there's going to be curb and gutter going in, and we're going to face the same thing. So we're asking the council and the city roads department, please make a plan now of what we're going to do to address this so that we don't have to go through another entire summer of this kind of thing going on. And people moved the signs. So as Cindy mentioned, UDOT was kind enough to put a sign out here that says prohibited haul trailers and dump trucks. They don't care. I called a couple of the landscaping companies and people that I saw in dump trucks. I called the businesses and they said, well, yeah, it's tough. And I said, it's tough on all of us. And they said, but you know what? Most of our drivers can't read English, so the signs don't really help. And I said, okay. And then people moved the sign, and the road closed sign helped for about 3 days until they determined that they could get through. And it is just like in the morning at 6:30, there's at least 40 cars or, varying amounts of cars waiting to turn down our street. And we can't even back out of our driveways. So it's frustrating. I've lived here, Cindy and I have both lived here for close to 26 years. And this has completely, like, if it doesn't change, I want to move. I love West Jordan. I can't live on the street the way it is. And I feel like now once people know that that's a cut through, that off of Redwood Road, that they can get down to 13th West, it might be something permanent that we see. So, yeah.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here who wanted to speak on the same topic? All right. It sounds like you've already been in touch with the mayor, but I know we have a couple other members of staff. Would it be beneficial, or has information already been to Brian? Is there somebody who can chat with them now and get any additional information or any additional thoughts? Who would you like me to send it to Brian? All right, Tawny. So Tawny and Brian's the one, blue shirt, yellow tie. You want to chat with him, and then Tawny is right there as well. Please, they'll be able to help you out, and thank you for bringing that to the attention of the council. All right, who else would like to address the council tonight? Please come to the podium, share your name, if you're a resident of West Jordan, and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Rob Holt, friend of the people. I've been living in West Jordan just about 30 years. I have received a citation from the city of West Jordan. The violation is 13-13-10G in regards to trees being out of compliance. Okay. My question is, who can I talk to find out how to change what Melissa Worthen implemented, to my understanding, to get the trees back, the city ordinance back to where it was? You've got a park lane and you've got a drive lane. Now they want the trees to cut 14 feet from the curb. And it's just like, here's these trees that I've spent 25 plus years growing, and to give them a mullet straight up, it just like looks ridiculous. And whoever come up with this rule, 8 foot on the sidewalk, like, come on. As I walk through my house, I raise my hand all the way up, and my wrist hits my door, my top of my door jamb. Okay, I could, up until yesterday, I could walk underneath my trees and the tops of my fingers touched a couple leaves. Right? I want any resident of West Jordan to be able to walk underneath the trees without getting an eye impaled. Right? I want the city truck to pass through without being damaged to them. I got no problem with that. But this new code is ridiculous. So, as a city government, let's not lead from the bottom up, where I've been issued over a $900 fine for not being in compliance with some trees. Like, good Lord. You can commit a reckless driving and not receive a $900 fine. Okay? So if we're going to be a city government, let's lead from the top down, and trees right out in your very own city hall are out of compliance. I can give you hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures. I swear I will go through and take all of them. And this is my official complaint, that the city is out of compliance with their own 13-13-10G. Right? So let's get my ticket either reduced and or dismissed until the city is in compliance. But the reality is you guys probably got bigger and better things to worry about than a cotton picking tree. So now and or later, please let me know who I can talk to change this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pope. Since that one is legislative and not executive, that's definitely going to be the council that would fall to. Could you please make sure your contact information gets to Mr. Anderson and Mr. Hallmark? The fine part, well, there are two parts that came up. The direct question was how to change code. That is over here with the council office. For the fine part, Mr. Langford can help you with that part. Thank you, Mr. Pope. All right, who else in chambers would like to address the council? Please.
Good evening, council. My name is Scott Bell. I'm a longtime resident of West Jordan. I come to you with a problem today in my neighborhood. Fortunately, I have a proposed solution that I think that you can help me with. I believe that the long-term viability of our city is largely going to come down to water management, our ability to grow, our ability to manage our water, to provide water to all of our residents for everything. And for that reason, I've recently gotten very interested in xeriscaping. Last year, I xeriscaped my sidewalk strip with the help of the Water Conservancy District there. Looked pretty ratty last year, but it came in beautifully this year. And next year, what I want to do is I want to xeriscape my entire front yard. There's a program at the state level called Chip Drop, where I think it's mandated by the state, but I'm not sure, where tree removal companies are required to chip up their branches and stuff like that. And then they provide those chips to people for free. The problem is that you don't know what you're going to get, right? You could get 2 cubic yards, or they could dump 20 cubic yards in your driveway. You have to take what they give. But if I do my entire front yard, a 20 cubic yard drop would probably be okay for me. The problem that I run into is I need to take down my lawn, my sod, by about 3 inches. You don't want to just put your chips on top of your sod because dust and dirt will build up over time, and then you've got a drainage problem going back towards your house, right? So I want to take my sod down by about 3 inches. I can do that by renting a sod cutter. That's no big deal, and I don't mind hauling it out of the yard. But I need a plate. I need a way to get rid of it, and that's where my proposal comes in. What I want to do is ask the city to consider providing a dumpster on a on-demand basis, one that has a gate that comes down, because I have to be able to get the sod into a wheelbarrow and then get it up into the dumpster, and then dispose of it for residents like me who want to xeriscape their yards in order to conserve water for the city. I happen to be on canal water for my water system, but every drop of water that I take for my lawn fails to get to the Great Salt Lake. And we in West Jordan have an impact on the Great Salt Lake. So that's my proposal to use. Discuss it, please, if you would, amongst yourself, and see if we can come up with some kind of a solution where there's an on-demand sod dumpster for people to get rid of the sod in their yards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Good to see you, by the way. If you would, please send my best to Holly and, of course, Debbie. Please share your contact information with Alan. As we're getting into the new year, I know there's some changes coming to the green waste, and this would be a good idea to discuss with some of the others. So I would like to make sure Alan's got your contact info.
Thank you.
Who else would like to address the council here in chambers? It's like Anne-Marie.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Barrett. I am the manager of the Bingham Creek Library, and I'm just here to kind of share a few wonderful things that have happened at the Bingham Creek Library, and also say a big thank you to the residents of West Jordan who've also helped make these a success. Yesterday, we gave out kits to make sugar skulls to celebrate Dia de los Muertos, and they're all gone already. So great to have so much participation, people coming in and enjoying those wonderful programs that our librarians create. Also, earlier this month, we had a blood drive at the Bingham Creek Library, and we had all 25 appointments fill up and had actually 27 people come to donate blood, which meant that we had, with everything that worked out, 21 pints of blood that were donated, which was awesome. And according to the Red Cross, that means anywhere from 21 to 63 people's lives could be saved by that blood. That's just so amazing. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who participated in that. It really does make a difference. I know I have been a beneficiary from a very close family member whose life was saved by generous blood donors. It makes a difference. It really does. So thank you. Thank you to our generous residents. And then I did just want to share some fun things we have coming up at the library. So this Friday, at 10:30 in the morning, we've got a play and learn for young kids. So anybody who has young kids with come, they can play with each other. We have toys. It's a really great opportunity for kids to meet other neighboring kids and for parents to connect while their kids are playing together. It's a really wonderful opportunity.
Sorry, what time did you say that was?
10:30 in the morning, and it's on November 27th. So these are usually toys for about 5 and under, but a bit older is fine, and that's not a huge, like, we are not gonna, but that's about the age range. So don't bring your teenagers. They're probably not going to have a great time playing with the preschooler toys. Though if they like that sort of thing, great. We also have a really fun family night activity coming up Monday night next week on the 30th at 7 o'clock. We're going to be making coffee filter bats, which will just be a really fun pre-Halloween activity. So we invite any families who'd like to come participate. That's really great. Do double check on our website. I do believe we may have a registration on that just because there's a limited number of supplies. We don't want to have people not have supplies when they show up, but I can't say for 100% sure on that. So do check our calendar on that one. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Anybody else here in chambers that would like to address the council? Please, Scott. Again, if you would start with your name and connection to the city.
Sure. Scott Howe, represent Peterson Development, who tonight had the grand opening of the Home Depot. And I was shocked at every parking stall out there was filled. There was an appetite for this project. And we want to thank you all for your leadership, for the planning, for the mayor, for his staff. This came about because of teamwork and collaboration. So thank you. I think it's going to be a hit from what I saw tonight. I saw some guy carrying out 3 plants to his car, and I thought, wow, what have you gone down to Lowe's? Where would we have gone? So thank you. I also want to just give a little perspective. Your service is magnificent. We appreciate what you do. I've had an opportunity to meet all the candidates running for the council, and I was a little bit dismayed by what they thought the job could be. I.e., one told me that we're going to end abortion. We're going to end drag shows. We are going to change the deficit. And I'm thinking, you need to go to a council meeting to see what they do, to listen to Scott, who had such a good idea, to listen to Ron, who's talking about his fine, and then to hear from Cindy and Helen talk about what's happening in their streets. I've often said my job when I was elected official was so much easier than your job. You deal with the needy and the right down in the face-to-face communities. So I applaud you all for having the great ability to listen and to take action on what your constituents have said. You know, some of these candidates, they should be running for U.S. Congress, or they should be running for the state legislature. So I hope that some are listening, and I hope they know what they're getting into. this is a tough job. And at last, I want to thank Melissa and Councilor Worthen. Because we have not agreed on a lot of things. Yeah, but we have agreed to be listeners. And Melissa is one of the greatest collaborators I've ever known. We will miss you. And thank you for your leadership. We really have appreciated the great job you do, and I've heard staff talk about you. But in closing, thank you to all of you. This is a tough job, and your service is very much appreciated. And thank you for coming and seeing Home Depot a reality. And you wait to see what other spaces we have around Home Depot. You are going to be amazed. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Anyone else in chambers that would like to speak tonight? All right, Mr. Bennett, please. Please still introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Rob Bennett. I am a resident of West Jordan. That series of comments just made me want to contribute something. It seems like we can't wake up every morning and turn on the news and see that we're a country divided. And yet it seems like from my attending of this council meeting tonight that West Jordan, for more than most other cities, has found out ways to disagree without being disagreeable. I am so grateful to live in this city where people are able to work together to find solutions to problems. And I would like to encourage all the citizens who have not ever attended a city council meeting before to come to a city council meeting and learn how their government works, to be able to respond to the actions of so many elected officials and appointed staff who work a thankless job. They pour so much of their lives into the jobs that they perform. And we do not contribute as citizens as much gratitude, I think, as we ought to give to them. So I would like to, on behalf of the citizens in District 2, thank Melissa Worthen for her service for these past 4 years. You've done a great service for us. You've listened to our concerns. You've represented us well, and we're very grateful that you are sitting in that chair. So I wanted to thank you, all of you, for being part of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Okay, anyone else? All right, let's go to the folks who are online. Again, if you're online and would like to speak during citizen comments, please hit that little button at the bottom of the screen to raise your hand. We'll start with Jake McNitch. You should be able to unmute yourself now. Please introduce yourself. And once we're sure we can hear you, we'll start the 3 minutes. Looks like there you go. Looks like you're unmuted.
Great. So Jake McNinch, I am a resident of West Jordan. So I am here to voice my opposition to Scott Howell and Peterson Homes high density and medium density development, and share some of your own city code with you that has been adopted by zoning practices. So for the Peterson development to be approved by City of West Jordan and for conditional use permit to be passed, the development proposed must meet the highest and best use. Highest and best use is defined as the reasonably probable and legal use of vacant land or an improved property that is physically possible, appropriately supported, and financially feasible, and that results in the highest value. So there are 4 tests given to see if this is feasible. Legally permissible, physically possible, financially feasible, and maximally productive. And I would like to share 2 of those with you that we feel that Peterson Homes does not meet and has failed. Financially feasible. Does the use case of this property suit the demographics and market area well? Under this test, we, the surrounding owners, do not feel that the property passes the test. Both the property to the direct east and the property to the direct north of this proposed subdivision are medium to low density. The city's general plan has this property proposed as low density. Changing the city's general plan would lower property values of the existing owners and go directly against the city's general plan. The development design does not suit the demographics and market area. Good urban planning and design require that density become less dense as you get further away from nodes and major arterial roads. The city has high density against U111, which follows this design. To allow a high density subdivision in the location proposed would go against the general plan and good planning practices. Excuse me. West Jordan has the opportunity to develop the West Bench nicely with higher quality homes and commercial. Please do not squander this potential with poor planning. Second, maximally productive. Does the intended use optimize the potential of the land? This test is subjective. Does the intended use optimize the potential land? For whom? In that case that we are presented with, the land use being sought is maximally productive for the developer, but is not maximally productive for the city. Unless our city goals are simply to try and garner as many utility hookup fees as possible, the potential of the land is nice bench with views of the mountains on both sides of the valley. Its potential is much higher than a ridiculously high density project that will diminish the value of homes around it. If you want a case study of what will happen, look no further than the Greg's Huge project on the southwest corner of 78 and U111. This high density project has been nothing but trouble and an eyesore for their surrounding communities. Traffic is constantly parked in the emergency lane on 7800 South due to the inadequate parking in the development. Driveways are too short, roads are too narrow, there is no open or green space, plows cannot clear snow off the streets, garbage trucks have a hard time maneuvering, fire trucks and emergency equipment have difficult time getting through the tight streets. This is not maximally productive. This development is maximally deficient. The Planning Commission voted unanimously against the Greg Hughes project, and the City Council overturned the decision and allowed this project to happen. Look at the result. Now we have another design that is poor use of space and poor planning. The Council and Planning Commission can make this space something that will build a better community, or they can accept what has been proposed and continue to diminish the west side of West Jordan. Let me remind the Council that this is an election year. The cities of the outer west side of West Jordan feel that they have not had a voice in the city for years, and the Council chooses to vote against the wishes of the citizens. It will not go in favor for re-election. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments, Mr. McNinch. Just for the record, we did give you some additional time since it was my understanding that you were speaking for a group. Is there anybody else? I'm not seeing any other hands online. Is there anybody else here in person or online that would like to address the council during citizen comments? All right. Seeing none. Oh, I do see one more. Cassie Jones online. You should be able to unmute yourself. All right. We can hear you. Please introduce yourself and then we'll start the 3 minutes.
Thank you. I would just like to second what Jake McNinch said. He is speaking on behalf of several of us here in the surrounding neighborhoods, and we are very much against the Peterson proposal. And we do plan on bringing more information and more opinions and more voices on the matter as you continue to meet. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cassie. I am not seeing anybody else online nor in chambers that has shown a desire to speak. And I've stalled just about long enough for anybody to have ample opportunity to do so. So we will close citizen comment and move on to our next item on the agenda, which is reports to the City Council. We'll start with reports from council members. Councilmember Whitelock.
Thank you. Just a shout out to our firefighters that participate in the Chili Cook-Off. That's always a fun event and really well attended. And it's near to my heart because it supports burn camp for children that were burned. And those children, I've taken care of many of them. And that's a hard road. The other thing I wanted to share is LPC. Housing, instead of affordable, it's now the vernacular they're using is attainable for first-time home buyers. I want you to be aware as you're listening to our people that we are a political subdivision of, that currently in Utah there are 556 entitled units throughout the state. I think that's, my math isn't super duper, but I think that's way above what they're saying the need is when they're saying 30,000. 67.2% of the cities have either updated their general plan or they are currently updating their general plan within the last 3 years. Another thing that we should kind of have at least in our periphery is that the Intermountain Power Authority, which is an interlocal agreement with some cities and even cities in California to provide power, they were audited by the state. And that's just something that we need to keep in mind, because if they're auditing their interlocal agreements and wanting to give them advice on what they should do, they could look forward to doing that for us in the future.
Councilmember Green.
I'm just going to, yet early in the meeting. Tonight, most of us were able to jaunt out west. And by the way, it was pretty fast getting out there tonight. I was surprised. But got out to the Home Depot at 78th and 56th. And it is great to see the energy, the enthusiasm. I've never walked into a brand new Home Depot store that had more whiz-bang batteries and toys than I was like, wow. Anyway, it is uncommon if you look across the state. It is uncommon that a city has 2 Home Depots. We have 2 Home Depots and a Lowe's. And so you just, as we see, so thank you to the city staff, the economic development staff. Paul Coates reminded us tonight that this project to get to the grand opening has taken about 14 years. And so it has not been an easy road to get there, but we got there. We've got a great retailer out there on the west side to support west side residents. And because Home Depot stood up, and the parking lot was full, by the way, as Home Depot stands up, and what they did announce in their as part of the grand opening is that their first sale today, I have no idea who it was for $145,000. Well, I started thinking about the sales tax. So for those, if that Home Depot is going to continue to succeed like that, so thank you to the staff for working through all of the issues that we know come up with Scott, your staff, building, and the building officials and the building inspectors and all of those and your other part of the staff that had to deal with the zoning and all of those other kind of things. To see that come together is a great thing for the city.
All right. Any other Councilmember Jacob?
Thank you. I was just going to let Councilmember Green know that the Home Depot is where the traffic starts. It's from there west is where it gets really bad.
You've never sat at Redwood Road in 70.
Well, I know it's bad out here too. And that the sales tax on that $145,000 purchase, it was the purchase was probably just 2 2x4s and a sheet of plywood. That's what I think I saw going out on the cart. Sorry, that's about a 3-year-old joke. But yeah, it still fits. But no, it was a great event.
All right. Any other council reports?
I don't really have a report, but everybody in this room is pretty much staff except for a couple of loyal residents and people that come to our meetings. So there's cupcakes in the back I bought for you because there's like an inside thing about cake with us on council. So I wanted to share cake. So please take a cupcake. Thank you.
All right. I'm not seeing any of the council reports, nor from those online. Let's go to the council office report. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. I don't have anything to report, but I'd like Mr. Hallmark to just update the council on the status of the West Jordan Youth Council.
And really quick along those lines, we had applications come in for the last 2 weeks, and we got 8 for the inaugural program, which is a great number to start with for the youth council rather. So we are representative from West Jordan High School, Copper Hills High School, Itinerus, and even Taylorsville. And then we have an application for the youth council advisor. So things are off and rolling. We're excited to get that program going. Our first meeting will be on November 14th, and then they will come to city council meeting on November 15th for an official oath of office ceremony. So looking forward to getting that rolling and to get you guys to meet them and have them involved. Thank you.
Did you reach out to Valley High? Because they have a lot of students.
I did, yeah. I reached out to their administration and their counselors, and they responded that they did in fact see the email. I don't know if they got to any of their students, but they were aware of it, and I asked them to pass it along accordingly. Yep.
All right. With that, we'll turn to Mayor Burton for the mayor's report.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure sharing the Home Depot grand opening with you. And I want to throw out Paul Stringham's name on there. He has been the one consistent person for 17, 18 years, I don't know, trying to get that Home Depot here. And he's been that consistent rod to continue to work on that through all the changes that have happened in the city and through Home Depot. Okay. Hayden Peak Elementary School and West Jordan Middle School are off of Grizzly Way. And we have these nice paths through there and tunnels go underneath there. And because the tunnels are below Grizzly Way, to get from the tunnel up to Grizzly Way, there wasn't an easy path to get there. So the kids would climb up the hill, and in inclement weather, they would carry mud home with them, and the parents knew how they got home from school. And some residents have been reaching out to the city, complaining about that for some time. And just last month, or last couple of weeks actually, our parks crew has gone out there and provided a path with millings and railroad tie steps so they can get from the path up to the street without having to go through mud. And they did it before the storms came in later this week, but it didn't matter because the kids dropped school this week anyway. But anyway, that's a great thing that our Parks Department performed for us, for the people that attended those schools out that direction. We've heard a lot about Truck Ranch for lots of years. Oh, there's some good pictures. Go back to that second picture. That one more. There. See how good that looks? Okay. We've heard a lot about Truck Ranch. We've been really pleased that they were coming here to West Jordan, and people keep saying, what's happening? What's happening? So the next picture will show you what's happening. They have a permit for land disturbance. Oh, imagine in your mind a picture of the dirt being dug and the land being disturbed. They've applied for some of the other permits, but they have the land permit disturbance right now. So there is dirt being moved over at Truck Ranch. So it really is happening. And last week, I got to join the West Jordan Cultural Arts Society and see The Little Mermaid. That was done by the West Jordan Youth Theater. They did a fantastic job. It was held over at the Midvale Theater, just right here down the street on 78th. So we want to thank them for continuing to go through and perform their shows for us. And we have a new store that opened up, a little restaurant. If you have been there, then you know how great it is. If you haven't been there, I encourage you to go visit it. When I went, I took my food and ate outside. The next day or two, you may not want to do that. But they are now open for business, and it's a great little addition to our stores here in Jordan Landing. And there used to be another crepe store there a few years ago. It's been gone, so it's great to have this one here now. And Charles, too, by the way. last but certainly not least, our First Friday concerts continue. And council, thank you for funding this so we can do it again next year. So we will now have this happening through next year. Originally, it was just funded until you did the budget and added that onto there. So that's the first Friday each month. We combined with with Salt Lake County Library and with Jeff and Excellence in the Community, who he's the one that actually finds that. And they're always local bands or orchestras that come out here and perform those local meeting from the state of Utah. And they are very good, and the attendance continues to increase as we're doing that. So I hope to see you there. And then the first mix was at November 3rd on Friday, but December 1st will be in conjunction with our holiday kickoff. That'll happen first, then we'll have the First Friday concert after that. So look forward to seeing you at those. And then the upcoming, our very last CDB race and short event is coming up in, what can they do, on November 4th. So bring all your papers. You don't want anyone else to see what you wrote on there, and your electronics, and we'll get those recycled and taken care of for you. That is my report.
Thank you, Mayor. CAO's report from Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I just have two updates, one from Public Works about 1300 West, and then one from Public Utilities about a couple of water projects we want to keep you informed on.
Thanks, Council Chair. Real quick, you heard from the residents on 1300 West. We've been working with Dominion. Substantial completion is supposed to be done the end of November. Now, as the resident mentioned, they'll be back in, it won't be done till March. Well, there's going to have to be tie-in work that will come back in the spring to tie everything back in. But as far as the road being opening up, we're working with them now to get that road all open back up. We have to have it open for plows. So that's the direction we're going. I have a meeting with them tomorrow to discuss, get a firm date on when we're going to have the road back open. So that's kind of the latest. They're doing a bore. They're boring in their tracks right now. And then after that bore, they moved to 7800 South, which is around November. But that whole road shouldn't be closed down for that. They should be able to open it up. So we'll be working with them to move that forward. So
a couple of questions on that one, Councilman.
Sure. With them not being able to complete until next March, how does that screw up our 13th West expansion from 90th to 78?
So with phase 2, we're still working on property acquisition and design. Before we start that, Greg will have to go in ahead of the widening project to replace the old line that's in there. There's a 6 and a 10-inch line that they're going to upsize the, what is it, Greg? 112. So because that line's so old, so if we allow Dominion to mobilize and go north on 78th, or on 13th past 78, all their equipment on that road, it's going to bust that water line. So Greg's going to go in ahead, get it done, and then we're going to do the widening. In between that time, Dominion will need to come back and finish going north. But we've got to get the water line replaced before we're going to allow.
So which water, where are we replacing the water line?
78th to 70th.
Oh, 78th to 70th.
Going north.
Going north. Because I was going to say, I thought we replaced the water lines between 90th and 78th. So
that
was
78th to 70th. And if we allow Dominion with their heavy equipment to mobilize on there, that line will bust. It won't handle the traffic and the compaction and everything that's going on with the bore. So if this is the plan, they'll demobilize. Greg will move in, get the water line done. Dominion will need to come back And they could even follow behind Greg and start finishing their work going north. And then we can start the widening. That should be the timing. Hopefully will fall into place in that order. So.
One of the questions I had was with traffic and the large trucks going through the neighborhood. Obviously, council can't give direction, but I did have a question as to would it be possible to put like Jersey barriers or concrete barriers that can still be navigated around, but make it incredibly difficult for some of the larger trucks with signs that say no large trucks or something?
There is.
Something
Me and Tony, we're going to go over a couple things tomorrow that might help with enforcement. We can't cite, but we can't cite for trucks cutting through the neighborhood as per code. But we can turn people around and have them go another way. But we're going to see if we can get some help doing that. We have signs up. I mean, they're the type A's. I mean, they're just going around them.
Yeah,
and
there's
no. I was going to say, can't we designate? No, a lot of streets have a weight restriction on them.
We have a weight restriction sign, right?
But if they have a weight restriction, we should be able to cite it. No,
the way the code's written, we can't. So
I know
we're working
fix that.
We're working on changing the code.
Okay. If you could keep council updated as to what's done to help mitigate some of the traffic through the neighborhood, I think everybody was interested in that. So if there's any, if as things develop over the next few days, if you could have an email sent to Mr. Anderson to forward to the council, we would appreciate that.
I'd just like to know how many square feet of asphalt have you used?
Tons. We use tons.
I couldn't have not thrown that in.
Is that it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. Mr. Davenport?
Just a quick update on two projects. First, the Zone 6 tank site. The contractor and the city did a final walkthrough on the inside of the tank today, and everything passed. And so the inside of the tank is all completed. They are working on a pipe on the outside that should be completed next week, and then they'll be putting water inside that tank. The other project that I was going to report on was Leland Drive. Our city crews have completed the construction of an 8-inch water line from Redwood, about 950 feet down to where the old line is in. It passed the pressure test. It's passed its first bacteria test, and tomorrow I anticipate it passing the second test. After that, we'll be able to put it in service and start attaching the services, which means we've got about 2 weeks left of construction, and then we'll be putting asphalt back. Now, I don't know how the weather is going to be in 2 weeks, but we're already starting to work with Brian. If we can get temperatures above 50 for even a day, I'm sure that we'll be done with that project. So, any questions?
I don't have a question about that, but I have a question about what Brian relayed for you.
Okay.
So you're taking a 10-inch pipe and a 6-inch pipe, and you're replacing it with 12-inch pipe.
Mm-hmm. So
having another 4 inches of capacity, why are we going down?
So I can explain that for just a second. The 6-inch pipe, it is so old, I could not tell you when it was installed in the city of West Jordan. So I don't have records of when it was installed. In 1980, to replace that pipe, they put in a 10-inch line, and they were going to abandon the 6. But for whatever reason, they just left that 6 in service. And so when we go in and put in our new line, we're really there to replace the 6, which is 45, or the 10, which is 45 years old. That 6 could be 80 years old. I just don't know. And so we're just going to remove it out of that place and make sure that no one's using it any longer.
And what kind of tests or what have we done to ensure that 12 inches is enough for today, 50 years from today?
Right. So when we've done our model, the 12-inch is big enough for what's there, and it's big enough for even something to go into the future. Say if you decided you wanted to put a apartment complex or something.
No, I want to put a Costco. If I put a Costco, we'll have room.
Thank you.
If you put it at the corner of 78th and 13th, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
But the 12-inch is a big enough line to support even a Home Depot or something like that. That's what that's what, right, for an infill. That's what we've got in there on the new Home Depot is on. It's on a 12, a looped 12. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions on that topic? Awesome.
That's it, Chair. Thank you.
All right. That takes us through reports of City Council. So we will now move on to our public hearings. First public hearing tonight is regarding Resolution 23-056, which is regarding an amendment to the Community Development Block Grant for 2023. And this time we get to hear from Lisa.
Good morning, Council. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Council members. It was a long meeting so far. Okay, so when council approved the original action plan, nobody, including myself, was really excited about the idea of committing several $100,000 to the housing rehab program. But at the time, that's about all we had. We were looking at other programs or projects that we could use that money for. We have identified three: Camelot Park, Country Squire Park, and the Executive Drive Storm Drain Project. I put those project descriptions in your packets. Essentially, if everything goes as planned on these three projects, that will completely use up all of our prior year program funds. And so we won't be searching for projects anymore.
Are there any questions for Ms. Elgin before we open the public hearing? We'll start with Councilmember Green, then Councilmember Whitelaw.
I'm not sure it's a question for Ms. Elgin or if it's for you, but what the heck is wrong with the storm drain in Executive Park? There's never been a problem there.
That provides a swimming pool occasionally for them.
It's a nice community lake.
That's what
recreational opportunity.
That's what I was thinking. I'm just trying to never mind.
Did the committee reconvene to go over these, or is this just coming from staff?
This is just coming from staff.
Okay.
All right. Seeing no other questions, we will open the public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to address the council on this item tonight? If you're online, please hit the button to raise hand at the bottom of your screen. If you're here in chambers, you're welcome to come up to the podium. And I will stall just long enough for the silence to become awkward before stating that I don't see anybody online nor in person that wishes to address the council. Therefore, we will close the public hearing and move to the council for discussion and or a motion. Councilmember Green.
I'm going to move to approve resolution number 23-056 with the rest of the languages we see on the screen. Cindy?
I will second.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Worthen. Any discussion to the motion? Councilmember Whitlock.
I just want to thank Lisa for all her work on this. I know it's like a subgroup of your work, but it's an important part of our community. Thank you.
No, I'm going to second that. You do such an amazing job. Perfect person for this job. Really, you do a wonderful job, and we're very, very lucky to have you.
All right. Thank you to Lisa and also the rest of staff. As was mentioned, the Executive Drive project will be very beneficial. That's one I've been all too familiar with. And I want to say thanks to the stormwater folks and the other folks in Public Works who have made things livable. They've made a lot of adjustments to try and accommodate for some of the deficiencies. There are inlets that were noted on plans that weren't actually ever installed. There's more volume than expected from upstream that was coming down. There was one line that had been bored through by Comcast. I could go on with the deficiencies, but I really appreciate all the work that staff puts into this. Greg, if you would please relay that. Jared Milgate does phenomenal work over there, and he's got a fantastic team with him. So thank you to them. Okay, with that, Ms. Quick, can we vote?
Chair McConaughey.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitlock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom.
Yes.
Councilmember Pat,
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right. The next two public hearings have to do with grants for justice assistance. First one we're going to hear from is Jeremy Olson, and this one is connected with Resolution 23-058. Jeremy.
Good evening. Resolution 23-057 will allocate approximately $42,000.
My apologies. I'm reading ahead. 5.8 is the next one. 5.7, as you corrected, is the one we're talking about first. Thank you.
Thank you. $42,000 from the Department of Justice to the Police Department for their mental health and wellness program. And we will have until a year from now, September of 2024, to expend those funds. And that's essentially the resolution. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from the council? All right, seeing none, I will open the public hearing. If you are online, please hit the button to raise hand to indicate you'd like to speak. If you're here in person, you're welcome to come up to the podium. Give it just a second or two. See a number of folks trying to avoid eye contact and no hands going up online. Therefore, I will conclude that nobody desires to address the council on this one. And therefore, we will close the public hearing and move to the council for discussion or motion. Councilmember Green.
I'm going to move to approve resolution number 2357 with the rest of the verbiage. Cindy? Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Worthen. Any discussion to the motion? Councilmember Whitelock.
I just want to state that I'm grateful to the staff that goes after these grants that help supplement what can be done for our employees. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Jeremy, I think you've been here for whatever. I mean, pretty much, right? You're like that silent hero that's just behind the scenes. So I really hope you are very much appreciated, even though, you just kind of try to stay like the man behind the curtain. Your work is very appreciated.
Let's see. Where was the motion that a second?
We're ready for a vote.
All right. So, sorry, there was a motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Worthen. Okay. Not seeing any other discussion to the motion. Therefore, Ms. Quick, let's vote.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Councilmember Pat,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Chair McConaughey.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
I'd be kind of curious to know how much money Jeremy has brought into the city during the 16 years he's been here. It's probably,
I'm going to say it's more than $42,000.
I'm guessing it's at least 7 figures, maybe 8. I'm curious. Anyway, we'll save that for another time. Now we'll move on to resolution 23-058, which is another justice assistance grant. And this one is being presented by Mr. Thacker. Chief Bell. Jeremy can take this one on. He'll get credited for the funds as well.
Council, the resolution for 23-058 is for another Department of Justice grant for the police department for over $43,000 will be used for mobile defibrillators that'll be assigned to, and we've already purchased them, so they're already in service. Be used in patrol cars for people having cardiac emergencies. And that is that resolution. I'm available for any questions.
Questions for staff? Councilmember Green.
This isn't directed at you. This may be directed at the chief. So I'm putting you on the spot, Deputy Chief. Come on up so that everybody can hear you. We've got all these AED devices in the police cars, right? That we're using this money to fund. When I read this, and it made me think, and I know it's dangerous when council members start to think, and most of the time the police department and fire department run the other way when we start talking about that. But Besides the automatic defibrillator, the AED device, does the police department have good enough first aid kits to handle that immediate response, or is that something that we need to look at?
We're actually pretty squared away as far as the supplies and the equipment that we have that would meet our level of training. Yeah, I won't go into a lot of detail, but our officers have tac med kits that contain tourniquets, combat gauze, things like that. There've been several incidents where they've arrived on shootings, but also car accidents, motorcycle accidents, things like that, and applied those tourniquets, stopping serious bleeding, things like that. We're equipped with Narcan when we respond on overdoses. Oftentimes we beat the fire department there. So the answer is yes to our level of training. I mean, could we always get better training and up that certification level and need more? Yes, but that's why we have the wonderful fire department that we have. So
no, that's what I was just wanting to make sure, is that there's nothing, that we're at a level that you guys are comfortable with, so that when you do come on a car wreck or something, that you can stop the major bleeding or whatever. So thank you. That answers my question. Appreciate that.
Councilmember Worthen.
I'll make the motion.
We have to public hearing.
Go ahead. I just want to make the motion.
Okay. So not seeing any other questions for staff, we will open the public hearing. Again, if you're online, please hit the hand icon to indicate you'd like to speak. If you're here in person, please come up to the microphone if you'd like to discuss this item. Give it just a few seconds. And I'm not seeing anybody making any motions for the podium, nor any hands have been raised online. Therefore, we will look to Councilmember Worthen for a motion.
Where'd my screen go? Okay. I want to move to approve resolution 23-08, authorizing the mayor 058. See, I even screwed it up. Authorizing the mayor to sign the Edward Bryan Justice Assistant Grant Program certification and blah, 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 blah. Somebody second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Worthen, second by Councilmember Green. Any discussion to the motion? All right, we'll turn this quick for a vote.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Powell,
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen,
yes,
Chair McConaughey,
Aye.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom.
yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right, that brings us on to ordinance 23-38 regarding streetlight design. We'll be hearing from Corley Freilich on this one. Maybe Kevin Bateman if we're lucky.
Thank you, Council and Council Chair, for taking the time to review our proposal to amend West Jordan City Street Lighting Design and Construction Standards, Section 16500. The proposed amendment will add an additional streetlight fixture, which is the K118 Washington LED by King Luminaire, as an additional acorn type style streetlight that can be installed with new development or other various road and street lighting projects. Our street lighting division feels that this addition is needed because there have been availability issues, as well as significant pricing increases with our current acorn style streetlight head that is in our standard. We feel that although there is a very slight difference in design, it's small enough that it would be difficult for the average person to distinguish between the two, as you can see in the picture here. We believe that approving this item will allow for more competitive purchasing, and it will be more economical for the city, and it will also help our streetlight department in their response time to streetlight issues throughout the city. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions or happy to provide any further information.
Councilmember Whitelock.
Yeah.
Some questions that came in the packet. In that it says start times. I'm just wondering on that work start times. You can start at 7. You have to be done at 3:30. And I want to know where those times came from, because if you're working on my street, I'd rather you. Well, to me, I don't really care because I'm up at 5. But my neighbors would prefer you not be there till before 8. And they'd be okay with you working later. So I'm just wondering where those times came from that are in that document. And you probably don't know because you're new.
I know a lot of other cities have been at it's due to noise ordinances not working too.
Yeah, it's 7:30.
Yeah.
Usually, usually it's a little later than that. So, I would just like it if anyone cared to look into that because I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm happy to look into that.
We might have, yeah, I was gonna say, going from memory.
There he is. 7 to 10. Okay, it's 7 to 10. I said I didn't see 3 to 10 p.m. Yes. I didn't
That's
see
not what's in the
3:30
document. In the document, it is 7. It's 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Okay.
That's what the document says. And then my second question is, the document talks about that the work will be done by a licensed electrician. How do we ensure that occurs when it's a developer putting it on in? Because I'm pretty sure that not all electricians working in the valley are licensed, and that concerns me. So how are we ensuring? How's the city going to ensure that?
Yeah, on new development projects we hire or for our outsourcing, we make sure they are certified.
Sure, when we're doing it, but when the developer is putting it in.
I would hope that would be done. From my experience, it has to have a licensed electrician oversee it, not as much as be the person install it. That may fall on, I don't know what crew.
It looks like they are.
Let me just speak up to this one because I know, having been a contractor for government things, the government does check the entity you work for that you are a licensed contractor, and to be a licensed contractor, you have to have licensed electricians working for you. And depending on their grade of electrician, depends on whether they need a supervisor with them, if they can work by themselves, and that's handled by enforcement by the state at that level. But the city verifies that they have those on there before they can bid on the job.
So the city relies on the state. Is that correct? City relies on the state to ensure that, and then we look and make sure that they're registered with the state.
The state enforces it that they're a licensed electrician on the site, but the city verifies that they are licensed with the state before they hire them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for staff before we go to the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. If you're online and would like to discuss this item, please hit the button to raise hand. If you're here in council chambers, please feel free to come up to the podium if you'd like to speak on this. And I'm not seeing anybody in chambers make a move towards the podium, nor am I seeing anybody online raising their hand. So we'll close the public hearing. Real quick, I want to say thank you to staff for bringing this one up. There are a number of places in code that the council has looked at and seen some issues. I very much appreciate staff seeing the problem with pricing and trying to order and asking, hey, can we change this so that we can save our residents some money? Very much appreciate this being brought forward. Councilmember Whitelock.
Chair, I just want to ensure that when I'm voting, all I'm voting for is the addition of the King luminaire. I'm not voting on that document that I have issues with, correct? Okay, I see heads nodding. Thank you.
Right. Councilmember Green.
I looked at the two pictures side by side, and there's so much difference. I don't know if I mean the bases are just I don't know. It's just never mind.
One looked to be a little glossier than the other.
I said if this would be ready for throwing out the fair conversations, one's gonna get hurt.
I move to approve ordinance 2338, amending West Jordan City Street Lighting Design and Construction Standards, section 16500, by adding an additional commercial street light pay 118 Washington -LED by King Luminaire.
So I'm gonna second because I'm no good at doing the first.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Whitelock and an incredibly eloquent second by Councilmember Worthen. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Quick, let's vote.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Chair McConaughey.
Aye.
Councilmember Pat.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
Which brings us to ordinance 23-037, which is regarding sanitary sewer pumping and lift stations. I'm sure there have got to be some really bad puns on this side. So,
Mayor just wants me to remind you that we're really pumped to give this presentation. And because this is something council initiated, I'm just going to plunge right into this subject today.
That was a stinky joke.
I know. That's horrible. I don't do jokes. I'm sorry.
There had to be some.
The mayor is king. The mayor is so good with his puns. I appreciate him for that. I think we've talked about this before. Here's a picture of a lift station. Why don't you go to the next slide? As you know, we have this already in our standards, but a standard is not as strong as a code. So City Council wanted us to come back and propose code language, which we did, and we presented it before. Do you want to go to the next slide for the code language? We took this to Planning Commission at the last Planning Commission meeting. They approved this 6-0 as language that should be added to our city code. I think that this will also be a good addition to our city code, and we'll let people know that lift stations are not something that we would do unless there were no other choices. Do we have any questions from council?
yes, my apologies. I meant to email this one months ago and I keep forgetting that it just came back now.
That's okay.
Is this going to cause a problem should at the Big Bend restoration at the Jordan River, should we want to install restrooms there? Is that going to cause a problem? I know that's kind of site specific, but it's close proximity to the
very
treatment
site
plant,
specific. So the Big Bend project is below the any current sewer line that either we have or another group may have that I'm aware of right now. That doesn't mean that we would have to install that there. I would have to do some more engineering. There could be a chance to catch grade as we go from 90th to 78th and then put it into one of the meter stations that we have with South Valley Water Reclamation Facility. I'm not also quite sure if we had a lift, if we had to do a lift station just for the Big Bend property, if that wouldn't be considered private because it would only serve one user at the city. So I would have to also consider that as well, if that makes sense. Private being one specific customer, which just happened to be us.
okay, we haven't opened the public hearing, so I'll save my comments on that for the end. Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yeah, just in advance of the public hearing, maybe for those who haven't been following along with the
thank you
conversation. I'll leave the adjectives out just for the sake of professionalism, if nothing else. For those who haven't been necessarily following along, can you just explain just really briefly why we would not want to have these on the code, whether we currently have any that are going to be grandfathered in, or whether there's one that, I don't know, maybe somebody is foreseeing needing to put one in and we're preempting that by making this code change. Just a little context just for those, so that if anybody wants to comment on it, they'll at least know what they're talking about.
Right. So currently, we don't have any public lift stations in the city. The city has gone through a great expense to eliminate any public lift stations. We have had at least 2 public lift stations that I'm aware of in the recent past. We have one private lift station in the city of West Jordan, and that is about the Jordan River and 70th South, which is about the lowest part of our city that we have. And there's no other way for that property to get sewer unless it was on a lift station. So this shouldn't impact any existing users at this time. This would only impact future users. And we have a master plan that shows that we can service every property in the city without a lift station. A lift station takes sanitary sewer and it pumps it up in grade and then goes to gravity. A gravity system doesn't cost the city much money in operation and maintenance costs, except for occasional cleaning, and we try and clean our pipes about every 3 years. A lift station that is pressurized requires daily operation and maintenance by city staff. So it is an investment that happens all the time. if a pump station goes out, an alarm sounds, and there has to be an operator at that pump station within 30 minutes to diagnose what's going on, because after that time, then the chamber that's built to collect sewer will overflow and sewer will run out into the public areas. And so that's the reason why our city doesn't like these, is because they cost a lot to maintain, and if they fail, the results can be disastrous. A lift station, a small private lift station, can cost anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000. A big public lift station can cost up to $1 million, and that's just to build. That's not to have to maintain. So that is why we've tried not to have these in our city.
So if every property in the city could be serviced with gravity, with the exception of the one that's already existing, why do we need to prohibit them explicitly in the code? Is there a foundation for that?
Sometimes properties develop before their time, and they have trouble with sewer, getting sewer, and so that may be a situation where someone would want to come to the city, as if they were a site that maybe had developed before sewer had come out to them, and they wanted to take it to a different location than, say, what's on our master plans or where we've planned for places to go. That's the only one that I could think of off the top of my head. But otherwise, in our sewer master plan that gets approved, we have a way to get gravity sewer to every property that I know of, except for any properties that would be east of where we have development now on the hill and east of the North Jordan Canal. Those are areas that I would have to look into a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, just one. Are you aware of any pending applications that would be only serviceable if they were able to put in this kind of a pump station?
I'm not, again, every property that I'm aware of out west can be serviced. They may require an offsite easement to be serviced with a gravity sewer.
Okay, but okay. You mentioned though the east side of the city. If somebody wanted to build something, say between Pioneer Hall and Gardner Village,
we do have a sewer between Pioneer Hall and Gardner
that
Village.
would still be doable. Okay,
That's correct. Our the meter at 78 is right at the Jordan River.
Okay.
So everything east of the Jordan River from 78 up can be serviced by gravity. Same thing at 70th South. That meter is also in the parking lot of the parking ride. So anyway.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Davenport? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to talk about sewer lift stations, now is your time to do so. Online, hit the button to raise hand to show you'd like to speak, or if you're here in person, you're welcome to come to the podium. And I'm not seeing anybody in chambers coming to the podium, nor have I seen any hands raised online. Therefore, we will close the public hearing and turn to council for discussion or comment. I appreciate the attempt to try and tackle my very site-specific question on the spot. That wasn't terribly fair to me, but I very much appreciate the insight. I'm okay proceeding with what we have, knowing that if we needed to make a change, I mean, the council can change code, and I think overall this is beneficial and prevents mistakes from happening. If there are certain things for like that Big Bend that may need to be considered, we can look at that and make sure that we don't do something that hurts the rest of the city in crafting code. So I'm comfortable with this.
I will just add if you remember back, the reason why this was actually started as a council initiated action was that there was a potential for a development that we actually were working on that had some really funky elevations, and even in their development agreements, they were talking about the potential for a sewer lift. And what we were trying to do was prevent a public sewer lift on a good chunk of property that would cause, and I'll just say this with pun intended, it would have really caused a crappy mess if that would have failed because of the way that property was situated. So That was to preclude. It was just to preclude not having, because it was in the design standards and not in ordinance. It was easier. It would be easier for developers to say, well, that's just the design standard. You can get around that. And it created a lot of convolutedness, and this would make it clear that public lift stations at the cost of millions of dollars in ongoing maintenance is not something that we intend to do in West Jordan City. And I think that's literally, whether this ever occurs or not, I think that's the symbolic message that we're going to send, is that that we don't engage in those kind of things because the cost, and we're going to do things the right way, and maybe not the most what would for some people would be the expedient way. So thank you.
Actually leads me to one more question. Sorry you went all the way to the back of the room, and you should know better. No, I'm just kidding. The question that I have is, would this public prohibition prohibit, say, an HOA from installing one of these, as long as they own and maintain and operate it? Would they be able to
come and talk with me? In this, it does broach that, because that is the one private lift station we have. It is owned by an HOA. They would have to demonstrate to the city that there was no other possible way. And a possible way is to buy an offsite easement. So if they came to me and they showed there's no other possible way to service that property, then I would be willing to discuss that with them.
Okay, but this wouldn't prohibit that.
It would not prohibit that. That's what the scenario would be, right? It would be them coming and showing, right. Hey, Greg, hey, public utility director,
whoever it may be.
It's whoever it may be at that time. Hey, it's not possible for me to do this without that. And that's why there is a option in there for that. And then they would have to realize that, okay, but all the maintenance and anything that happened with that would be on you.
Right.
If you still want to develop. But it wouldn't preclude them from doing that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And this is the language here, just so you know, it's standard with other sewer districts. So it's not like we would be going on ground that's not already been created. You know, we're not breaking ground with this. This is something that a neighbor to our south, two neighbors to the south already do this as part of their policy.
Okay, thank you. I thought that this was geared, and this is kind of why I have my concern, geared toward a specific application or a potentially specific application. And in that case, I have a real hesitancy to go ahead and write code based on prohibiting one development from doing one thing. That's just me. Now, I think legally speaking, we have the rational basis here. We meet the scrutiny that this applies to. So I'm not concerned that we're in a bad legal situation necessarily, but I just want to make sure we cross all our T's and dot all our I's. Did I get that right? And J's, and make sure that when we are going in and prohibiting something that could be construed as picking on somebody specific, that we're doing it as a public service for a public reason, that we have a rational basis as a government entity for doing this. So just wanted to make sure that we had that all kind of in place. So thank you for humoring me with the questions.
I'm going to move to approve ordinance number 23-37, amending city code to add section 944 sanitary sewer pumping and lift stations.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Worthen. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. Cindy.
Councilmember Whitelock.
Yes.
Chair McConaughey.
Aye.
Councilmember Worthen.
Yes.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom.
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
All right. That brings us to our business item, which is the more depressing item of the night. discussing how to fill the vacancy left by Council Member Worthen. Mr. Anderson, would you like to speak to this one?
Yeah, just what's in your packet and following Utah State Election Code in Title 28, Chapter Title 1, just defines the process used to fill a seat of a vacancy. So as noted in your RCA, the council must provide a public notice of at least 14 calendar days before you meet. So you would need to choose a date to fill the seat 14 days from, I believe, the vacancy. I don't have that on the RCA. The applications are received by the city recorder. The council must state this evening the date, time, and place of the meeting when you will fill the vacancy. That includes interviewing those that apply in a public meeting, not in a closed meeting. And another section of the code is that you must.
Alan, that's an open meeting.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, you said closed.
I said you can't do it in a
closed.
Okay,
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Council must appoint a qualified candidate to fill the vacated office within 30 calendar days of the vacancy. The vacancy begins November 1st, so that would mean for that section of the code, you would have to fill it by November 30th. The one thing the code does not contemplate in filling a vacancy is during an active election period. So I'll leave it at that. So what you will do tonight is you will deliberate amongst yourselves in the public meeting to get a consensus, at least 4 of you, to determine the date, time, and place of when you want to fill the vacancy. You'll also pick a period of time. It's not 14 days. You can pick a time frame that you want. You just can't do it sooner than 14 days. So not sooner than 14 and before 30. For when you want to have applications accepted by the city recorder. If the council is not able to fill the vacancy within 30 days, there are 2 provisions in the same section of state law, 510E and 510F, where on November 30th, the city recorder would notify the lieutenant governor. The lieutenant governor would issue a notice of violation and provide another 30 days. There are nominal costs for doing the public noticing of this process. All the other costs are already budgeted in the adopted budget. And there would be minimal savings for salary and benefits if the seat was not filled until January 1st. And those are, that's a synopsis.
All right. The slide with the proposed motion, does that have the same information that's on the RCA here? I think it might be a little easier for us to talk through if we've got those blanks that we can kind of speak to one by one.
Yep, if you'll give me a second while you start the dialogue.
All right. So tonight there's a resolution 23-064, and there are 3 dates that we need to fill in. The date that we start accepting applications, the date we stop taking applications, and the date that we have the discussion for actually filling the vacancy. So I'd like to speak through those one by one and ask the council when we would like to start accepting applications for that vacancy. I think Councilmember Pack has raised his hand. Before you come in with questions, we did have, oh, there's Tangi. She's switched over to an attendee. Tangi is online. I'm trying to make her a panelist so that she can speak to any questions as well. Councilmember Pack.
Thank you, Chair McConaughey. Appreciate that. I just wanted to ensure that we're not stymieing ourselves with only 3 options and brainstorming other alternatives, especially during the elective season, as Alan Anderson mentioned. It brings an interesting mix of politics into an appointment. So, for instance, another option could be to wait until after the election to be able to appoint someone who was elected, so it doesn't look like that we're trying to interfere with the election process, or also just take the 30 days, have the lieutenant governor issue the non-compliance certificate that's good for another 30 days. And then whoever is duly elected on the 21st of November would then be able to take office right at the very beginning of January. So There are some other alternatives than just the ones that are presented. I just wanted to ensure that we considered viable options. Thank you.
So the motion that's been suggested with the setting the dates for the application and a date for discussion is what's required by state law. That's why I assumed we'd start with that. But Councilmember Green.
Let me just address that. Previous speaker said, let's just not do anything. That's terrible precedence for this council to say we're going to ignore state law. The law says the council will do something and do something within 30 days. What we can do, and I'm not going to be in a position to vote that says I'm going to ignore state law, because that sends a message to our residents that we're willing to ignore state law, West Jordan City ordinance, because it's expedient. So I would just throw in my 2 cents here. And I will, and I know where my blanks would be filled out, but the last blank would be November 29th. That would probably be the latest day that we could do to meet the 30-day requirement, and we can meet. The election at that point is all the, let me rephrase that. The voting in the election has all been completed. If all the votes may not have been counted there, but all the voting has been completed. If in that district race, and I'm going to assume, maybe a big assumption, but I'm going to assume that the 2 people who are running for council member, just running for that race, are going to file to apply for the vacancy. By the time we get to November 29th, and that's why I'm throwing that date out, and yes, I'm probably being a little bit mature and irritating Council Chair McConaughey for that. But if we think about this process, if there's a 3,000 vote difference and one's clearly the winner, we can make a decision. If not, we can wait until then. I want you to think about this. It's the next Tuesday night. That's the Board of Canvassers meeting. We will have a final vote tally because we're going to be voting on it. And if we vote on that, if we just said, hey, on November 29th, we're postponing that until December 6th, we're waiting from a Thursday to a Tuesday to make a decision. The Lieutenant Governor's office didn't even have enough time to give us the notice of violation, and we will have had it filled. And that's my thought is hold the meeting at the latest possible. Hold the meeting at the latest possible time frame. If the election is close or we don't want to make a decision right then and there, we defer that decision until the immediate next Tuesday night when we're already going to be meeting at the Board of Canvassers. We can hold a special council. We can also hold a council meeting right after the Board of Canvasser to fill the vacancy. We will know who the winner is, and we would fill the vacancy for the last month of the term with somebody that the voters have said, yes, that's the person we want for our representative. So that's my thought of the process.
And we'll go to Councilmember Jacob here in just a second. I want to try and break these apart into 2 nights. We're going to have another night where we talk about the who for the position. Tonight is the how and the logistics. I want to try and focus on the dates, the date that we start taking applications, we end taking applications, and then we have the discussion. I know there's an election, and as Mr. Anderson pointed out, the election, state code doesn't necessarily, state code does not consider the election when it says what steps need to be done. So I want to be careful that we don't dissuade folks from saying that they'd like to serve in that position if we go into it with presumptions. So I want to try and focus as much as we can on those dates that are required now, and then we can talk about who would fill that at that date to be determined. Councilmember Jacob.
Thank you. Couple of ideas cross my head. One is if this council does not appoint somebody within 30 days or 36 days, as your alternative is, we're not ignoring state code, because state code says if that doesn't happen, here's some more. There's more state code. We may have chosen an option in state code or have failed to do something that state code says you shall do this, and if you don't, then this happens. But we didn't ignore state code. I just don't want to. I want to get that kind of I don't know, that kind of coloring of the issue kind of push that away. I'm not necessarily in favor of doing that. I just don't like the characterization that we're ignoring state code, because there's a lot of state code in this section. The second thing is, Alan, can you go to the previous slide that had a little more information on it? That had the staff analysis. There we go. This says that if the council is, and in B, should the council not be able to appoint an individual, the council's ability is actually not considered in state code. It's if they do or don't do. It's not like the nominating names for the water board or whatever, where we certify that we are not able to come up with two names. We send that notice to the governor, and then there's a whole process. This is not that. The code just says if the municipal legislative body does not timely comply with this section, our ability to comply or not comply is actually not relevant, right? Of course, we're able to comply unless we all, I don't get COVID or something. And then the last thing that I wanted to chime in on is I don't disagree with the timeline presented by Councilmember Green. It's not a bad timeline. State code, like our good chair mentioned, does not contemplate elections, and so the election really should not play into our deliberations as well. It's kind of like of course it will in your mind, but it's kind of like when you're on a jury and they tell you to go home and not talk about the case. You're still thinking about it. You're still, talking to yourself about it. You might even mention something to your wife over dinner. I mean, you never know. I've never served on a jury. I'm not confessing to anything. Just saying. I watch a lot of TV. So, of course, it will play into each one of our rationales, but I think as a body, we need to be very careful to keep that separate.
And I'd be happy to finish the year on Zoom. Just throwing that out there.
Your Councilmember Jacob, I agree with you. What I want to avoid, and that's why I threw the November 29th day out, is that if we decided that we wanted to do that earlier and there's some hypothetical situations, then we could be potentially picking somebody that shows an endorsement in an election or those kind of things. And so the reason why I threw that original timeline out with November 29th is that already gets the election done. And so anything that we do won't interfere with the election. And that was my point.
Right. No, and I get that. But I think my point still stands, though. Even if it did look like it was an endorsement for the election, it is still incumbent on us to do the right thing for whatever reasons we come up with in our heads to justify our actions. It's incumbent upon us to do it in a way that is election neutral. Now, if that's who we decide to pick from, then great. And if it's not, also great. I was thinking that Dirk could apply because he lives in the old district too, which is what we're still trying to fulfill. And then I'm not quite sure how, anyway.
All right. So what I'd like to do is take each of these dates one by one and see if we can come to a consensus. So as far as dates to start accepting applications, my question would be, how soon could we start accepting those applications? How much time does Tangi need before she can do that? Is that something that we could say starting tomorrow, or do we need to wait till November 1st? How soon could we have for that first date?
I would defer to Tangi, Miss Sloan, to answer that question.
Miss Sloan just happens to be a panelist on tonight's call. Tangi.
Hello. Thank you, Chair McConaughey. I am all ready to go. I have the notice and everything prepared, so I would defer back to council. I'm ready when you are.
So if we were to say tomorrow morning, you would be ready tomorrow morning? It's not
If I had to stay up and get ready for it, I would.
They're not making you stay up.
All right. Well, and just to,
I'm prepared when you are ready.
perfect. And just to clarify Councilmember Jacobs' comment, we don't necessarily need to wait till there's the vacancy to start accepting the applications, similar to what we saw with the, I can't remember his name, who retired from Congress. Applications, yes, Stewart. Applications are able to come in before the vacancy is actually there. But if we wanted to, we could wait till November 1st.
I'm not
We
sure
could wait till Monday.
The way I read it, I'm
Mr.
not sure
Anderson.
about that.
Yeah,
Clarification or different information from when we last spoke?
No, I just want to, just for clarification, state law does indicate that the vacating member is able to participate in the interviews and vote as long as they are a member of the council. So that to me says that you would be able to take applications prior to the seat being vacant.
Councilmember Whitelaw.
I simply want to voice a frustration. I think tonight is a night that we needed an attorney here, and we don't have one, which is, I have said that maybe the council needs their own.
Mr.
I
Chandler.
think this is a night.
Councilmember Whitelock, if I could just address that, I beg your forgiveness that I'm joining the meeting from home this morning due to illness. We also have Duncan online if there's any questions that are necessary to be answered online.
Perfect. I didn't know you were there because I can't see that.
Councilmember Pack, is that your hand re-raised or is that still up from last time?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yes, appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify that, as people know, no matter what decision is usually rendered as our alternatives, I always like bringing up a juxtaposition, devil's advocate. So just to clarify, I'm not advocating not following city code. I was using it as an example of just showing that our alternatives aren't necessarily limited to an either or of those three. Quite often, I don't like when you're asked to choose between this or that and not considering alternatives. So I know it's in the packet and we've been deliberating this. So just wanted to clarify that I'm happy to, of course, be in the process of appointing someone duly appointed per our city code and state code. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do think some of those options were, Mr. Anderson was trying to give a fuller picture of what would happen, not just with tonight's meeting, but down the road. For example, option B really wouldn't even come into play until that later conversation. So for the purposes of tonight, would anybody be opposed to listing the start date as Monday, October 31st or October 30th for the day to start taking applications?
I was going to suggest a week from today. So Wednesday, November 1st. I was just suggesting a week from today that gives Tangi and everybody a week to get ready to post and help because it says we take the applications beginning. That gives us a week to advertise so that we can take that application beginning then. So that's where my rationale was, is let Tangi do her thing, get some advertisement out, and then we open it up between the 1st and 15th or 20th or whatever somebody else suggests. But I just say we do it starting the 1st and make it clean.
See, my thought was similar, starting clean, but clean being a Monday, so you've got a full calendar week as opposed to the 1st of the month. Same thought. And the extra 2 days, if staff's ready,
I'd rather have the 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, I would rather have the 1st just because I understand council office director. I can't believe I almost did that again. Council office director Anderson's, not council member Anderson. I understand his rationale on his interpretation of the timeline of the word vacancy, but when I read the code, it says if a vacancy occurs, then all these things start to happen. So I would rather wait till the vacancy has occurred. So that's why November 1st is what.
Okay. All right. So for whoever makes the motion, it seems like there's a majority support for Wednesday, November 1st. Let's jump to the last date because I think it'll be easier to back up to when do we stop taking applications based on when do we plan to discuss. So let's talk about what date do we plan to discuss.
I'm gonna say, so that we're in our 30 2 day time frame and we're not meeting on a Friday, I'm going to say Thursday, November 29th is a Thursday, right?
Wednesday.
Oh, it's a Wednesday.
30th is it Thursday?
Oh, then I'm going to say let's do Thursday, November 30th. Or do we want to do on a Wednesday? That's a regular council meeting. Let's do Wednesday the 29th, and then it's a Wednesday night. We do for count. We're usually screw up Wednesday nights for council anyway, and that meets the 30-day requirement. And then if it does go haywire, then or we don't want to make a decision, it's just a couple of days. So I would say Wednesday, November 29th.
Councilmember Pack, I see your hand raised.
No, Chair, I just think that the hand must not have been taken down. Sorry for that.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts besides Wednesday, November 29th? All right. I'm not hearing any opposition to that date. Therefore, the last date would need to be the date when we stop taking applications. Would Friday, November 24th, anybody be in City Hall? I'm guessing the answer is no. Therefore, how much time do we need between when we stop taking applications and when the council discusses filling the vacancy?
Technically, just 24-hour public notice so we can meet Oakland, but we have to have time to
reasonable for staff.
See, depending on the number of applications, I mean, there's some variables. I would say we probably need a couple days to post.
See, my thought is that we need it's not the time to because we can set the time and we can do the agenda. We know what the agenda is going to be for that meeting. We can publish the agenda tomorrow. My thought would be is how much time do we, because we have to do interviews in that meeting on the 29th. What we need to do is give the applicants enough time to know that that the application's in, we clear them, but get enough time to them to say, this is what you expect and everything. So I would think closer to November 20th, giving everybody 20 days, 21 days, 22 days would be probably a better date to close it, because then it would give staff at least a few days to deal with the applicants and those kind of things. That's just my thought.
I would suggest the 17th to stop taking applications if we're then going to look on the if we're going to do interviews on the 29th. That gives them a couple of weeks to apply, basically, and then it gives us some time and staff time to review them before. I don't have a hard fast on that, though. That's just looking at the calendar, just thinking.
Yep.
Councilmember Jacob.
Looking at the calendar, November 17th was my preference as well, because it's a Friday. I like ending things on a Friday that have to do with people who work Monday through Friday. And also, the week of Thanksgiving is just a messy week with staff in and out and things like that. I would rather not force anybody to change their travel plans they may have already put in place just to accommodate this process. So for me, I think the 17th is cleaner, and then it gives us, like Councilmember Whitelock said, a little more time.
Okay, we'll go Councilmember Pack, then I want to chime in on this one, then we'll go to Councilmember Green. Councilmember Pack.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was on mute. So that is fine. So going to the 17th, day of the week again, which day is that on the 17th?
It's Friday.
That's what I was thinking. I can try to change some plans, but that's part of the problem of trying to herd cats, getting 7 people to plan something that wasn't already on.
So this is the date to stop taking applications. Council doesn't actually need to be here for this one, so that shouldn't impact anything that you have. This is just the last day in which an applicant can come to the city clerk or city recorder's office and say, I'd like to declare my candidacy for this slot. So you would impacted with your plans there. My thought is, with that being the Friday before the short week of Thanksgiving, there may be folks in council or with city staff that making them stay till Friday, 5 p.m. right before a holiday week. I would rather move this up 2 days and say we'll do what the law requires from November 1st through November 15th. Give staff that Thursday, Friday to try and clean stuff up so that they don't have to worry about Thanksgiving holiday. I'd rather do Wednesday the 15th instead of Friday the 17th. That's just me.
I could support either one. That's not bad rationale for me. While I think the mayor is going to be the Grinch and make people work all the way till 5 o'clock on that day, I can support the 15th.
Yeah, I guess I don't agree with your rationale. I think there will be, we have a new employee, relatively new employee in the recorder's office. So I think someone will need to be here either way, I think. And I think customer service can take those probably. They're involved with the recorder's office. So I like giving them an extra couple of days. I won't fight it though.
All right. Okay. So it sounds like starting applications on November 1st, stopping applications 15th to the 17th, and then discussing at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, November 29th.
Can we ask Tangi what she thinks about the date the date of ending?
Before we do that, Councilmember Pack has his hand raised. Councilmember Pack.
Chair, I'm not sure why it keeps showing up. It doesn't show up on my end anytime that you've come back to me, but I do appreciate your conscientiousness asking. Thank you.
Okay. I'll lower it on my side. I will lower it on my side then. So, yeah, there we go. Tangi, can you weigh in? What was what was the question word for Tangi?
Well, because she has a preference.
Council member White, I've got a bad connection or something. It keeps cutting out. So can you repeat the question?
We're looking at having applications either due on Wednesday the 15th or Friday the 17th. Do you have a strong opinion one way or the other?
Either date is good for me. I will be in the office and Rachel will be in the office too. So either date works for me.
Thank you.
All right. Somebody want to take a stab at a motion?
I'll do it. I move to adopt resolution 23-064, setting the dates for applications beginning November 1st, 2023 and ending I'm gonna be very specific here, ending 5 p.m. on November 17th, 2023, and setting the date, time, and place to fill the vacancy for the West Jordan City Council District 2 for November 29th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at Thomas M. Reese Justice Center Community Room at 8040 South Redwood Road, West Jordan, Utah, 84088, if I have the zip code right, but I could be wrong. But I'm going to add that just so that we don't miss any specific details. I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Jacob, after confirming we probably won't be in City Hall that day. Any discussion to the motion? All right. Seeing none, let's vote.
I'm sorry, who seconded that motion? Thank you.
Councilmember Jacob.
Thank you.
Councilmember Worthen.
Okay. Councilmember Worthen.
I'll abstain on this one.
Okay. Councilmember Whitelock.
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Chair McConaughey.
Aye.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob
Yes.
and Vice Chair Bloom.
No.
Okay, thank you. I show the motion passes 5-1.
All right, that brings us to consent items.
Move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Green, second by Councilmember Whitlock. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Those minutes stand approved. That brings us to council meeting wrap up. Council remarks. Councilmember Whitlock.
Thank you, Chair. Not the consent items, but the last resolution I wish we would have not had to have done. It saddens me that Councilmember Worthen will be leaving us a couple of months early, but I wish her well and her family, her husband and her puppies. I wish them well in their transition to a new state and hope that goes well. I appreciate all that staff does, and my shout out, of course, tonight, I'm stealing Melissa's and shouting out to her for her service. And for Councilmember Bloom, I'd be interested in why a no vote. I think maybe I know, but I'd sure like to know.
Councilmember Green.
Just a couple of comments. One, if you haven't driven that and you still have 3 or 4 days, well, so if you haven't driven over to Garden Village and participated in Witches Night Out, get there. It's a unique opportunity that only West Jordan has, and it's one of I'm sure that all the businesses over there, the last few weeks is what keeps them in business for 6 or 7 months out of the year. So visit Garden Village and take advantage of Witches Night Out. One of the comments that I will say, and Mayor, I think we talked about this before, but it's something that we need to take a look at, and that is our partnership with UTA. I was going to say UEA. Wow, yeah, long night. UTA, and see if there's not a way that we can do a free fare zone, or we can help with a couple of trolley buses or something that can help increase the safety over there by Garden Village. They get tons of people parking up 7800 South and on both sides of 7800 South, and people walking down the street and those kind of things. And it would be something that, just something that we can look at that maybe help spur some economic development there and increase the safety. So just something that we can think about in the future, and how we can partner with our friends at Utah Transit Authority. Tonight, it is sad to say goodbye. I think the first time I actually met you was 4 years ago at the park. When we were both running for city office 4 years ago. So it's been a good ride. I appreciate your service to the city and wish you the best of luck.
Councilmember Jacob.
Thank you. I had a discussion today with the CEO of O2 Utah. It's the Clean Air Initiative people thingy. And an interesting talk. And we were talking about when the city council opted not to proceed forward with the clean air community. It's the Community Renewable Energy, CREA, Community Renewable Energy Agency. And we opted not to proceed with that. This was in 2021 in January. is when that happened. And we had an interesting conversation about that, and what we were thinking and what they were thinking. And went back and I went back and watched that meeting and had a lot of or I watched that discussion for that meeting. I didn't watch the whole meeting. I had a lot of back and forth with Mr. Garbett and talked with him at length about kind of what the goals are of the program, what West Jordan's goals are. And when I went back and listened to that meeting, we as a council, I think almost everybody said we're still interested in clean air and renewable energy. We just don't want to go down this path. We haven't done anything since then. We haven't talked about it, I don't think, since then. At that point, there were some cities that we were told were opting out, which wasn't necessarily the accurate. And we talked about doing something with these cities and other things. Anyway, I just want to bring that discussion back up, maybe kind of put it on your top of your mind so that you can kind of think about maybe ways we can proceed with this as we can think about it one more time, maybe, and just listen to it. Maybe we put it onto a future work session with some ideas going down the road. I just wanted to mention that I had that conversation. It was very interesting, and I would like to see what options are still out there and what may be able to be tweaked to allow us more options. So just some ideas that happened to toss around today in that conversation. And Melissa, it's been a ride. Enjoy Colorado. It's a lot like Utah, from what I understand. Mountains and stuff. And I remember my first memory of you was when I first ran for council and you were working for the newspaper and you kept trying to get me to buy ads. And then, I found out you lived in my district, but I was running at large at that time and that didn't work out so well. And anyway, and you called me on election day, on the general election day, and I'd lost in the primary. And you called me on the election day and said, "Who do I even vote for? None of these people are any good." She said she was going to write my name, and I said, "Don't do that because I'm not eligible to be written in." That's my earliest memory of Melissa. So anyway, enjoy Colorado. Been a good time.
All right, Councilmember Bloom, or yep, there we go. Councilmember Bloom.
I can try to talk. Sorry, I'm streaming from my phone in a very poor Wi-Fi area. Melissa, thank you for everything. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the hour-long phone calls we've had, and thank you for everything you've done to this council. And I wish I could be there in person, but I'm at work. But I appreciate you in every way, and I'm going to miss you dearly and deeply, more than you know. And again, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Pack, did you have any comments this evening?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Wonderful working with everyone on council. I think everyone brings unique attributes, which is great. And I appreciate council member Worthen's zeal, enthusiasm, wanting to be involved, wanting to make a difference, definitely going the extra mile, along with her husband, Mike. Boy, that drawing of Maya, just outstanding. Whether it's been a volunteer or an elected official, I'm certainly Colorado is the beneficiary of what you've done here. Our loss is their gain, and I'm sure because volunteering is in your blood and who you are, that you'll make a definite contribution to your community wherever you are. So thank you for your example, and I wish you nothing but the best. I still have the knitted Grogu from year one of our service together up on the shelf of my den, but I think it was your mother-in-law made, and so when people come into our lives, they make an impression, and I appreciate your impression personally and on the city of West Jordan. Best wishes.
All right, Mr. Anderson, can you pull up the picture that I kicked over? Again, I want to say thank you to Councilmember Worthen for all the time, all of the effort. This was a picture that I was able to take from my perspective. My perspective of your service is probably different from most other people's. this wasn't my first interaction with you. I think the first time I got to know you, I got to know you a little bit with the paper, but then when there were concerns with the animal shelter, you were out there right in front of the council with your daughter, taking care of those who didn't have a voice for themselves. I like this picture because it's not the view from the audience, it's the view behind the scenes. There are very few people who work behind the scenes as hard and as with much energy and excitement as you do. And it's been very interesting to watch how you're always able to bring a smile to people's face, make tense situations a little more lighthearted and easy. This little thing tends to come out when there's nights that are a little bit rough or things are a little more difficult because you've brought a level of friendliness to your service on the council. West Jordan's home of the good neighbor, and you'll just be our neighbor who's a little bit further away. Very much appreciate all that you've done, all that you've served. And there are many people who have no idea the lengths to which you've gone to help support them. You've done a lot behind the scenes and done a good amount, a large amount of good for a good many people. Thank you for your service. With that, we do have a spot here for closing remarks. Should you like to share some? It's the button on the right.
I brought my own box of tissues. You know, I had to actually pull them out of a box. It was already packed because I keep packing things and realizing, wait, I needed that. The first thing I'd like to say, for anybody who listens to this, citizens in the future past, I have to thank every person that voted for me, that gave me a voice. And I know some people have heard this and others maybe haven't. Growing up, I mean, I'm from New England, I'm from back east, and it's definitely a different culture. My son actually moved there a while back, and he had called me and expressed just some concern with the way some people were saying things to him and whatnot. And it just didn't dawn on me till maybe the third or fourth conversation that he was actually experiencing culture shock, because the way people talk back east just a little bit different. You know, very straight up, there's some sarcasm in there, and they kind of just say what's on their mind. And I'm used to that growing up with my dad, and he was always that way. And so it just dawned on me. I said, oh my heavens, Michael, you're experiencing culture shock. I said, just imagine a room full of moms and papas. Oh, he got it. Nobody was really trying to hurt his feelings. That's just kind of how they talk. And so growing up in Utah, it's been different for me with my personality, being able to fit in. But when I got on the council, I realized you can't fire me. The first time in my life, I get to actually be me. And if nothing else, you can do about it unless I break law. And I'm not going to do that because that's not me. So, I get to say the little things, and I get to try to bring the positive to things. I mean, I really wanted to bring shout outs to the end of every meeting because I wanted to end every meeting on a positive. These meetings can be stressful, and we have people that are just a little mean to us sometimes, and blame us for things that we don't have any power over, which is interesting. But we're all here to help our community. That's what we're doing. I mean, we want to help people. We have that in our cores. And that's the only reason I did this. I never intended to have a political career. My son made a comment to me about, I feel bad that, you're moving here for us and you're leaving so much in Utah. And I said, I get to take it all with me. Every person I've met, every impact, every person has made in my life, everything I've learned. And like Scott said, Howell, when he stood up there, everybody should run for city council. They actually understand how things are done and how their dollars are spent. But for every person that voted for me, I appreciate you giving me the honor to speak for you. But I also thank you for the freedom of actually getting to be myself in a situation for the first time in my very long life so far. I do hope that somebody, if not all of you, will continue some kind of shout out as years go on. That would be awesome, because I do think we need to bring that positive. You know, I avoid the television because I don't need it to be in front of my face all the time to know what's happening in the world. I mean, we have a Congress that can't. Let's not even go down that road. I mean, it's amazing at the odds that people are at, but I still believe there's so much good than bad. I think the bad just gets publicized. So I would encourage you guys to continue these meetings, but publicize the positive. Please don't end a meeting with sourness. I mean, that's my ask. You know, I've had so many people say, "What can I do for you before you leave?" That's what you can do for me. Just end these meetings on a positive. So with that, I do have a gift for my co-counsel, and these are my mother made these. They're little positive potatoes. Yes, and I have to back it up so I can see it. So positive potato. I may be a tiny potato, but I believe in you. Go do your thing. So I want each of you to have your little potato, and leave one for Pam and for David. And when you look at your potato, I hope you remember me, and I hope you remember to end on a positive in any situation that you have. Never leave angry, never go to bed angry, but please never leave these meetings angry. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Oh, really? Okay, I guess I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All right. This one is going to have to be a roll call vote because it's electronic, and I intend to vote in opposition.
Councilmember Jacob,
As somebody who never votes no on a motion to adjourn, yes.
Councilmember Pat,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bloom,
Yes.
Chair McConaughey,
Absolutely not.
and Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
and Councilmember Worthen.
I'll abstain.
I show that motion passes 5-1. Thank you.
We stand adjourned.